Welcome back, Geotech Masters. If you are looking to really understand what goes into investigating the ground beneath our feet, you have come to the right place. In this video, we will introduce you to the standard penetration test.
Have you ever wondered how engineers figure out what kind of soil is below a construction site? Or how they measure the strength of that soil? What if I told you there's a test that's been used all over the world for decades to do just that? In this video, we are going to dive deep into this very important test, the standard penetration test, often called the SPT. We will answer questions like, what exactly is the SPT and why is it so widely used? What are the basic tools and methods involved? And what does that end value you might have heard about actually mean? So, stick around, because by the end of this video, you will have a solid understanding of the first steps in geotechnical site investigation using the SPT. Now, before we get started, a quick word to our newer viewers. This video is part of our series on geotechnical investigations. If you haven't already, we highly recommend checking out our earlier courses, Geotechnical Investigation Essentials, and Planning a Geotechnical Subsurface Investigation. These courses lay the groundwork and provide you with the essential knowledge you'll need to fully grasp the concepts we'll be discussing in this SPT series. Think of it like building a house, you need a strong foundation first. You can find the links to these foundational courses in the description below. Trust us, it will make your learning journey much smoother and more enjoyable. Today, we are focusing on the main document that guides how the standard penetration test should be performed. This document is called ASTM D1586. This might look like a complicated code, but don't worry. It's simply the name given to this specific standard by ASTM International, which is a well-respected organization that develops technical standards. You'll see this designation, D1586/D1586M, at the top of the document. This document has been slightly updated in 2022 to make sure all the information is accurate. So, when we talk about the SPT in this series, we'll be referring to the procedures and guidelines.